we go exist. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to every man where they fight for their responsibility. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to every man.
Benjamin Thornton Montgomery, a father. Born enslaved in Loudoun County, Virginia in 1819. His early childhood was as privileged as possible for an enslaved person. He served as a companion to his owner's son, who taught him to read and write. However, in 1836, Montgomery was taken to Natchez and sold to Joseph E. Davis, who was the older brother of future Confederate President Jefferson Davis. The story is that Joseph Davis employed a more lenient management approach inspired by the ideas of utopian socialist Robert Owen, which allowed for a degree of self-governance and entrepreneurial experimentation among the enslaved workers. Montgomery quickly displayed his intellectual potential, and Davis allowed the young man free access to the Hurricane Plantation Library. Montgomery improved his literacy and developed skills as both a mechanic and a surveyor. In 1840, he married Mary Lewis. He and Mary had 4 children: William, Isaiah, Rebecca, and Virginia. In 1842, Benjamin Montgomery opened a retail store on Hurricane Plantation, selling general merchandise to both slaves and their owners. Hurricane Plantation was a 5,000-acre plantation located near Vicksburg, Mississippi. It was established by planter Joseph Davis as a model slave community. Benjamin Montgomery developed a personal line of credit with wholesalers in both Natchez and New Orleans and bought and sold goods in his own name. In the years leading to the Civil War, the Montgomery retail enterprise flourished and the family's stature increased. Because Benjamin was doing business on the Mississippi River, he noticed that sometimes the riverboats that brought his goods ran into shallow water and got stuck. This delayed his shipments. Benjamin decided to address the problem and created a propeller that could cut into the water at different angles, thus allowing the boat to navigate more easily through shallow water. At this point in his life, it was generally accepted that nobody, black or white, was as skilled a mechanic as Benjamin Montgomery. He put his mind to the problem and came up with a solution. He modified a propeller for steamboats that could adjust its angle and how it moved so that it could even maneuver in shallow water. It changed the steamboat industry on the Mississippi. June 10th, 1858, Benjamin attempted to patent his upgrades. The United States Patent Office refused his patent. The application was rejected due to his status as a slave. The Davis brothers, however, decided to patent their slaves' invention. One thing that stood in their way was the Supreme Court. Under the Dred Scott decision of 1857, slaves were property. Therefore, the court held no patents could be issued for inventions made by slaves. It was not until 1884 that Montgomery finally received credit for his work. This tribute, however, is dedicated to Isaiah Thornton Montgomery, the second son of Benjamin Montgomery. He too was born into slavery on the Davis Bend plantation in Mississippi, owned by Joseph Davis. Despite being enslaved, Benjamin Montgomery and his family experienced a relatively unique environment. During the Civil War, the Davis Bend plantation was captured by Union forces, and the Montgomerys took advantage of the chaos to gain their freedom. After the war, Benjamin Montgomery purchased the 4,000-acre Davis Bend plantation, creating a self-sufficient Black-led community known as the Benjamin T. Montgomery Estate. This community was an early experience in Black self-governance, where formerly enslaved people could work, educate their children, and thrive without white interference. However, economic pressures, racism, and the collapse of Reconstruction eventually forced the Montgomerys to sell the land. This experience profoundly influenced his son, Isaiah's later work in establishing Mound Bayou, Mississippi. It was in 1887 when Isaiah Montgomery, who apparently had learned a great deal from his father, along with his cousin Benjamin Green, founded Mound Bayou, Mississippi, a pioneering all-Black settlement. They chose the site for its isolation from hostile white communities, believing that Black people needed a safe, self-sufficient space to truly thrive. Mound Bayou quickly became a model of Black economic independence and self-governance, boasting businesses, schools, churches, a bank, and eventually a hospital. The town's motto, "A town built for us, by us," captured the spirit of Black self-determination that Montgomery championed. At its peak, Mound Bayou had a population of over 8,000 and was known for its high rates of Black property ownership and political participation. The president at the time was Teddy Roosevelt. He was so impressed by the town, he called it the jewel of the Delta. Montgomery's political views were complex and at times controversial. He believed that economic self-sufficiency was the path to true freedom, even if it meant accepting racial segregation in the short term. This perspective put him at odds with more militant Black leaders of his time, like Ida B. Wells and W.E.B. Du Bois. Notably, Montgomery was the only Black delegate at the 1890 Mississippi Constitutional Convention, where he controversially supported measures that effectively disenfranchised Black voters. He argued that political concessions might allow Black communities to avoid violence and continue holding economic power. This stance remains a deeply debated aspect of his legacy. Mound Bayou survived as a thriving, self-sufficient Black community well into the 20th century, serving as a beacon of Black enterprise and resilience. It became a center for civil rights organizing in the 1950s and 60s, supporting figures like Medgar Evers and Fannie Lou Hamer. Today, Mound Bayou stands as a symbol of Black self-determination and the enduring spirit of survival despite systemic oppression. Isaiah Montgomery died in 1924. Having lived through the transition from enslavement to freedom, the hopes of Reconstruction, and the disappointments of the Jim Crow era, his life reflects both the triumphs and compromises of Black political and economic survival in the American South. Isaiah T. Montgomery, the son of Benjamin T. Montgomery, a Black father who was present and passed on a legacy of excellence, accomplishment, and love for his people. May they both rest in power.